this meeting back to order, 7:33. The approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented?
Do we have to add anything to it as a result of what we just did?
No, we closed the workshop, so if we don't need any further discussion, then
Okay, but that doesn't, never mind. You answer my question. The answer is no. Okay, got it.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. I skipped over the public hearing for the 2022 budget. I want to move to reschedule that to November 15th, 2021. It was previously scheduled for tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
We have a motion and a support to move the public hearing for the 2022 budget to November 15th at 7:30 PM. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, motion carries.
That's smart.
Moving into the approval of the minutes
We just
in your
discussed.
packets. If there's no questions about the minutes, a motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support to approve the minutes as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, tonight we have a couple presentations, guest speakers. We'll start with St. Clair County Sheriff Matt King.
Hello. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and speak as briefly as I can try to make it. But I'm here today to talk a little bit about what's been going on at the Sheriff's Office over the last year, in particular, some of the changes that have taken place and some of the things we've had to deal with, like everybody else. You know, the bad word COVID is going to rear its ugly head in my little report here. But I didn't bring a PowerPoint. I thought it would be just fine to have like a discussion. Obviously, if there's any questions during my little presentation or after, please feel free to ask. But I wanted to go over a few things that we did last year in regards to 2020. I took office in mid-November of 2020. I was elected, and then former Sheriff Tim Donilon had left a couple months early after the election to take another job. So it's been about a year for me. I was there before in the capacity of a road patrol captain for 3.5 years. My time there, I started in 1998, so I've been here 23 years. Lifelong resident of St. Clair County, other than 2 years. A year out of high school, I went to Detroit and was a police officer there for 2 years. I had residency, so I lived there. My friends were away at college, and I was in Detroit being a police officer. And I came back home, and I've been here ever since. So some of the things that we had going on while the former sheriff was in office, we kept going because, you know, like I said, I was part of it. But after some time, we did make some changes, and I'll highlight some of those things. I'm not going to read the brochure that I handed out to everybody verbatim because it just, there's a lot of numbers, and I think everybody here could probably browse through that. But I'm going to hit some highlights, and then on the back page talk about some of the things we've improved upon at the Sheriff's Office. You'll see in 2020, our Road Patrol Division responded to approximately 40,000 calls. Obviously, that was down quite a bit. Again, dealing with COVID early on, we didn't know exactly what was going on, how contagious it was. So we knew we still had to serve the public. Our agency, obviously, everybody had to come to work every day. There was a whole different set of rules for us with quarantine and everything else. But we started taking a little bit more thought before we did certain law enforcement action. Obviously, any kind of victim crimes, any kind of crimes at all, we responded to. But our response when it comes to making traffic stops and making contact with people outside of calls was limited for safety reasons, obviously. You know, at the Sheriff's Office, we have a pretty good-sized footprint in the county. Along with the regular road patrol, our law enforcement side has many specialties, accident investigative team. The team is state-renowned. We're called throughout the state to help other agencies with their accident investigations. We're very proud of that. We have a drug and tracking dog. Commercial motor vehicle enforcement. Very important. If you remember about 10 or 12 years ago, probably not even that long, about 8 or 10 years ago, we would hear and read about the garbage haulers flipping over on 94, coming over from Canada quite regularly, and we realized we had a problem. We needed to get some enforcement with our commercial motor vehicles. We have a great relationship with all our heavy trucks in the county, other companies. We want to make sure the vehicles are out there, they're safe. We'd rather not write the ticket, we'd rather have conversations with the business owner so we get it right ahead of time. We have 2 deputies that do a great job with that. We also have cybercrime, a special response team, negotiators, many other specialty units that are interlinked with the special response team and accident investigators and all those other specialty groups. We maintain police services with contract, as we all know in this room, because we contract with you. We also contract with Algonac, Fort Gratiot, Port Huron Township, school liaison officers with the Port Huron Area School District, Anchor Bay School District, and we just added Memphis School District. We're pretty excited about that. Memphis is obviously a village that's half of Macomb, half St. Clair County, but I've always felt like it was a St. Clair County community, so we're excited to be a part of that. Our drug task force in 2020, we really operated that differently than we had in years past, again, because of COVID. Our numbers were significantly lowered because we did really directed our attention to the bigger dealers because, again, with COVID-19. Our plan with our deputies out of the drug task force were to make sure we're only making contact with the biggest dealers during that time period and, the first 8 or 9 months of the year, because they were kind of our B bench. We wanted to know that we had 10 deputies that were ready to go to fill the shifts on the road if we had a whole shift go down with COVID-19, right? So we had a plan in place so we never had interruption in services to our most important part of our job, which is the road patrol and our call for services. So numbers were down. Well, if you saw the article in the paper today, you can see our numbers are significantly back up and actually had a couple really, really high numbers because of, unfortunately, some of the drug problems here in our county. So again, our numbers were down, but that was for by design, I should say. We have the dive team, 29-member dive team, almost exclusively volunteer. They get paid very little, but they are very passionate and very good at what they do, which, as we know here in this township, big water's out there, and there's a lot of dangerous water and events that go on, special events and just day-to-day boating. And they do a great job recovering and rescuing people who have obviously fallen out of their boat or over the edge. Also rescuing and discovering evidence from other crimes and stuff like that. Again, their statistics are there. I'll save you the time by going through all of them. Our Marine Division, they have been kind of the opposite with everybody else in our law enforcement, asked to do more because of our high waters along the St. Clair River and up at the lake, but specifically the southern part of the St. Clair River, as we know. In this township, I feel like I'm bringing up a lot of things that happen in this township and further south. The high waters cause a lot of damage with properties, and I'm sure the board has gotten a lot of calls, and maybe some of the members here, or the residents here have experienced that. So we, in 2021, actually wrote and received a grant to up our amount of patrols, specifically with the wake violations, and to try to get people to, slow down, especially when they're close to the water's edge, and also created some signage out there. So they actually kind of, like I said, did more, and were asked to do more, but again, in a boat, you can have your distance and handle their job, because a lot of people were boating. Outdoor activities were very, very high, so a lot of our calls were higher, but we just had to handle them differently. Boating certainly was one of them. They policed 23 boating accidents and handled many of the special events we have every year, and I'm sure everybody here is very familiar with the boat races, the Mackinac Island, Mackinac race, float down, Jobby Nooner, and several other ones. Our corrections facility now, these folks don't get a lot of praise because they're inside all the time. They're dealing with the people that are incarcerated, but they particularly had a very difficult job with COVID-19 in 2020. They booked in 3,260 inmates, which is down from the 5,285, again by design. Luckily here in St. Clair County, we work very well. Law enforcement does across the board. The sheriffs and the chiefs and the prosecutor's office and the judges, we all get together and talk about things and what's best for the community. And we had to kind of limit the arrests that were going on, do some more requests to charge. By all means, if somebody needed to go to jail, if somebody was victimizing somebody, they went to jail. And right now we're seeing the high tick in court cases that are going on because those requested charges are coming around. That being said, even if we didn't make contact with the chiefs and ask them to change things, they were changing things as well, right? They weren't doing as many traffic stops or face-to-face contact with people. When that doesn't happen, I could go to a larceny call and talk to somebody because something was stole off their front porch, and you run everybody's name, you come into contact, and lo and behold, the caller might have a warrant. So some of that contact wasn't being made, so the numbers were down. But it had to be down because in the jail, we're a 491-bed facility. We can't operate that way right now because if somebody comes in the jail, they are tested and then quarantined till that test comes back. So on Monday, if we have 8 people booked in, they're all going to be, obviously by gender, in a room together until they're cleared quarantine and able to be put in the proper area of our jail, depending on what they're accused or their crime is or their warrant is. So we can't just jam our cells full because we need to be able to move people around. And it really created a lot of need to think outside the box. That being said, the things we came up with, we're still going to be using, and it's going to create a safer environment for our jail for years to come. So we're pretty proud of the work that was been done in there. And I'll talk more about some of those changes in a little bit. But some of the things we have in the jail that people don't really know unless you unfortunately have been in our jail or know somebody that's been in our jail. But we have a lot of programs to try to make sure that we don't have recidivism. You know, our plan at the sheriff's office, if somebody comes in the jail, we want them to leave better than when they got in. Oftentimes, the only time people are able to see these programs are when they are in our jail because unfortunately they either don't have the guidance or the wherewithal to say, hey, I need help. And oftentimes, as you can see in some of these highlighted areas down here, specifically our RSAT, our Resident Substance Abuse Treatment Program, they're sentenced, part of their sentence is to go through this program. And, you know, the folks, they have to go through the program, they have their sentence shortened down, and then at that point, obviously, they have a choice to make. Do I want to follow through with my recovery, or am I not ready, or whatever it may be? But it at least opens the door and gives them some kind of guidance, some kind of tool to say, hey, there's a choice to be made here. There's many other programs listed here. The Medical Assistant Treatment Program, that's where they couple proper medication along with counseling to try to get people to see that there's a way out of addiction, right? We know that most crimes that we deal with, may it be larceny because somebody's stealing to feed their addiction, to assaults, to drugged and drunk driving and other crimes like that, they're really closely related to substance abuse, may it be drugs or alcohol, right? So when people have substance abuse problems, if we can treat those problems or give them some tools so when they leave and follow through with these counselors that are made available, we have a better shot at getting them to closer to recovery, which makes less victims out in the rest of the society. So I'll flip to the backside here. Again, COVID-19 is right at the top of the list. Some of the accomplishments we've had since November of 2020. You know, we've controlled the amount of people who've gotten sick in the jail by more cleaning, by the way we get people to court or don't get people to court and do video arraignments, and also how we handled just everything from meals to shifts, you name it, we had to change it. We also actually offered a COVID-19 vaccine clinic in our jail, and the first time around, 135 inmates and detainees decided to take the vaccine. And we also we had another clinic, I don't have the number on that, I think it was around 70, but of course, being a jail, our population is always changing, right? We're not a prison where somebody's in there for 5 years. So, you know, we're really able to have a lot of different people have access to that vaccine. We also offer the vaccine for people when they get booked in. So if you're booked in and you want the vaccine and you haven't had it, we can offer it right there. It's right on site. A lot of work went into that. You think it'd be simple, but like we're finding, nothing simple nowadays. We also looked at and actually implemented body-worn cameras for our road patrol deputies. You know, body-worn cameras has been out for a while, but just like any new model or anything really new, it's not always best just to jump on board because it's the new hot thing. A lot of the cameras that were bought throughout the state and certainly in other agencies in and out of this county, when they originally came out, found not to be very good equipment, so they had to reinvent the wheel. we wanted to sit back. We're a pretty large agency. We're the largest agency in this county. We're the 18th, well, actually I checked the other day, the 16th largest law enforcement agency in the state of Michigan. So to buy cameras for everybody and not know what we're getting ourselves into really didn't look too appealing to us. We knew we were going to get on board. We wanted to research it, and we found that the program or the product we have now is a very good product. It's been tested, and we've got some good safety measures in case something does go wrong with the cameras. But of course, we knew up front and know now that the cameras were actually the cheap part of the purchase. It's the storage of data like everything else. Very, very expensive. So if you're a department of 8 people, obviously your budget's going to be smaller than ours, but managing that data is going to be manageable, right? If you're an agency our size, where you've got around 100 road patrol deputies, when you talk about our drug task force and our detectives and our patrolmen, that's a lot of film, a lot of data. Not only do we have to pay to store it, we're going to start getting, and we are already getting, a lot of FOIA requests. How do you redact that data, right? How do you redact a video because you can't have the license plate in there or the little kid that's walking across the street from a scene? So it's very labor intensive. We came up with a plan. We got it up and rolling. We're proud to say we're wearing them. Our deputies like them at first, of course, like any new technology. Nobody likes new stuff. And of course, at one point it does look like Big Brother's always looking over your shoulder. But we drafted a policy, sat down with the unions, and everybody's on board with, hey, this is a good thing. First call we got after getting the cameras, I shouldn't say the first one where we had a body-worn camera was somebody who made up just plain false accusations. And again, I've been in law enforcement now for 25 years, so I've been out there on the street and dealt with people, and nobody's perfect by any means, but I remember getting the call and saying that didn't happen at all, right? And my boss, at that point, having to talk to people and see whose word they're going to take. And we hit play on this video, and the complaint was absolutely fabricated, totally made up. And when the complaint was called up and said, hey, we've got body-worn cameras now, and we just watched the video, the person said, okay, thank you, I'm going to withdraw my complaint and hung up the phone. So, it's not just about complaints. And again, we want to hold our deputies accountable, right? We have 100 or so deputies, a little bit less than 100, and we have very good employees, but nobody's perfect all the time. So when there's mistakes made, we're gonna correct them. May it be purposeful or just lack of training. We use them for training purposes tactically and everything else. It's a great tool that way. And also preservation of evidence, incredible evidence off of these body-worn cameras. I know, speaking of our commercial motor vehicle, I was just talking to our deputy today, and he said he loves them because most truck drivers are pretty honest when they're talking to these guys because get to know each other. There's only a couple deputies doing these stops with commercial motor vehicles, and they'll admit, yeah, you're right, I'm overloaded or whatever the complaint is, and then later want to fight it in court, and they're like, well, you just admitted on camera, that you knew you were overloaded. So it's a great tool that way. The other interesting thing, and I'll jump forward a little bit, is we got new in-car cameras. So Axon is our body-worn camera and now our in-car camera, and those cameras will sync. So if the supervisor was a deputy and I'm a deputy, and we're on a scene, but we're in different cars, I pull up, maybe I call out and need help, and the supervisor shows up and he's got his camera. Well, when you punch in a complaint number and connect it to the video, and then later connect it all, you can watch each video, our in-car camera, his camera, and my camera, and show different angles of what's going on in different time frames. Incredible vision of what really happened. We all know that cameras aren't perfect. They don't smell. They don't have peripheral vision. They don't hear exactly how the things we hear. But it's a good tool, and we're real proud that we got that up and running and got funding from our county commissioners. The court video booths, we call them the phone booths because they're kind of modified phone booths. And then we also have some other booths that we have throughout the corrections facility. We're able to have people in our facility be seen in court for certain things, right? Obviously, if there's a victim in a crime or going to trial, they got to be there. The victim has the right to face, the person that, sorry about that, the person who has victimized them, and the suspect has a right to a trial, right, and to see his accuser. But there are a lot of things that we can do in our facility without taking that inmate out. So throw COVID-19 out of it. Every time a person's brought in and out of our facility, we have the possibility of contraband being brought in and out. If somebody's going for sentencing for a serious crime, they may get something in their head about trying to escape or get upset and start fighting. If they're in our facility, you don't have to leave. We don't have to worry about the contraband or a possible fight or anybody being injured, and of course, infectious diseases like COVID-19. So we have created quite a bit of technology, and I shouldn't say created, but got quite a bit of technology up and running, and we've had 4 other counties come and look at our facility, see what we're doing. So we're pretty proud of that. Our corrections has done a great job. We got new cameras in our facility. Our jail isn't that old, but believe it or not, it had analog cameras put in when we bought it. It was right on the cusp, like, hey, this new digital camera's coming out. What do you guys want to do? Well, of course, like everything, budgets was overrun. And looking back at the video then and the video we have now, it's incredible. We were watching some older videos where there's some inmate fights, and there's times you really couldn't tell who fought. That's how poor quality the cameras were. And now, if there's an incident, you know exactly who was there, and it's clear what exactly happened. And that includes the people trying to hide contraband, again, who was involved in an altercation. So we were able to upgrade all of those cameras as well. We also we got some enhanced training for our deputies. With lawsuits and liability, or even something that happens out on the street that may not seem connected, it almost always comes back to, are your people trained, and do they know the policies? And if they do know the policies and the poor policies, then are on us, right? And how often are they reviewing these policies? Well, there's programs out there that we felt like we need to get involved in. Police One and Lexipol are both very well-known training programs where a deputy gets on duty, fires up his computer, everything's done over computer nowadays, and they're able to watch a video that'll be connected to a policy, and it'll be recorded. And so when an incident happens, and if we get sued or if there's a question of his actions, we can say, hey, here's the record of the training and the policy review. It's very important. It may not be something that the regular citizen thinks about, but being, in the administration at the sheriff's office for 4.5 years now, I know how often that comes up. It's better tracking. It keeps our deputies sharper, and it creates a better service for our population, as well as it's fiscally responsible because it's going to save the county money. So we're proud of that, and we're also trying to continue to get better training. The employee wellness program, I don't take credit for the things above because I have great employees and a great team that come up with very smart ways to tackle new problems. But the employee wellness program, by no means am I handling it all myself, but it was my plan. When I came back from the National Academy a couple of years ago, I realized that there was a lacking in an employee wellness program. So the employee wellness program is a program that's put together to assist employees in the areas of mental health, physical health, financial guidance, and spiritual support. Over my whole career, we've really come 360 in realizing the toll that law enforcement takes on our professionals. When I worked in Detroit, there were guys there that were Vietnam vets. So they were the old timers, right? Toughen up, suck it up, get back to work. And I'm kind of old-fashioned in a way that I still believe that to a certain degree, but I'm not ignorant to the fact that we see things in law enforcement that most people might see once or twice, maybe in their lifetime, and we see it weekly or monthly. And there's a toll there. And then sometimes we see some catastrophic things or involved in catastrophic things that nobody would ever see or have to decide what they would do in this action. We also know that through studies that these gun belts, our uniforms, they break down our hips and our back, and that unfortunately we also know a lot of young cops get on the job, it's their first good job, and they go buy a brand new truck, right? So that's a little bit down the line, but we wanted to come up with a program. I wanted to come up with a program that set our people up to win, short-term and long-term. I want our deputies to be in good physical health because they need to be for their own well-being and to be able to do the job well and to have longevity. And I wanted them to have good mental health. In law enforcement, people don't talk about the tolls it takes. And I remember the calls that would be with me forever. And I talk to the people in our agency, I'm like, you need to talk to somebody about it. You need to have support groups. So at any rate, without going into too much, there will eventually be an app where people can seek out help in any of those realms I talked about, totally, completely anonymously. With the mental health part, they can have access and contact with professionals or peer support in and out of our agency, so people don't know that they reached out for help, because if they won't reach out, it doesn't do anybody any good. So, again, and then the physical health and financial guidance and spiritual support. So those are all things I thought were important, we're working on right now. Leading into the exterior vest protectors, I don't know if you guys have seen the deputies lately, but they are wearing a different exterior vest. I looked at several kinds, and I picked the kind that looked most like the shirt I'm wearing right now, and I meant to bring my vest in, but I didn't. And a lot of people don't even notice the difference. But the point of it is the vest is outside the shirt, and a lot of the things you see on my belt are up on the vest. And there's been studies and studies and studies, and a really smart sergeant at our agency said, oh, you're having a wellness program, I'll be on that committee. And 2 days later, he came in with the exterior vest carrier and told me, with a PowerPoint, because he's a brilliant guy, and he's like, so this is why I think we should have it, and it fits right into your wellness program. And I said, so if we get these vests, are you going to be part of our wellness program anymore? Well, you know, boss, I'm real busy. You know, I'm like, okay. But he was smart, and he did a good thing, and, you know, a few months later, we've got them. And I think it's going to save injury. It's going to make deputies healthier for longer and more able to serve our public the way they should. So at any rate, you'll see that a little bit different. You see a little bit of hair on my face. That's No Shave November. That's going to go away. I'm a little old-fashioned. I know some departments are going all year round with it. I will not be doing that. The money's being raised to go towards the YMCA. So, and then lastly but not leastly, we added a school resource officer. Again, Memphis school districts, we're really proud of that. That program's been up and running since the first of the year. And yeah, we're proud to be a part of another community here in St. Clair County. So I know you've got other things to do. I think that might be a record for me, believe it or not. But I appreciate the time, and of course I'll answer any questions. And if somebody wants to ask a question that they don't want to ask in public, I work at the sheriff's office. Just give us a call, and they'll get you on the phone with me. So,
Thank you.
anything?
Thank you.
I say appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you.
We got a couple great deputies here.
Yeah, we've got good deputies here.
That's good to
They
hear.
do a good job.
Yeah, and we're very fortunate, and I always try to make sure I make it clear, very fortunate to have the relationships we do with our contracted areas, but just in general, the support we get. Every time something bad happens out there in the United States, and some cop that we all get very frustrated with does something that's bad, or perhaps somebody makes it look bad, all our deputies get is free lunch for a month. And that goes to show the support we have here in St. Clair County. It doesn't go unnoticed, because if it starts to go unnoticed, it'll be taken for granted. My brother's a road patrol deputy, and we're very good friends, and he'll tell me, like, yeah, can't buy lunch again. So we're very fortunate to have that cooperation here, because no law enforcement agency can be effective if we don't have a good relationship with our community. So at that, thank you. I'll stop talking.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good news, just found out my sister, half-sister, got appointed or offered the superintendent job for Memphis schools.
Oh, okay.
Sarah.
Yeah.
So,
We were waiting, because renewal was kind of in limbo,
Yep.
and good.
Yep.
I'll be getting to know her.
for sure. All right, John?
Yes.
Last but not least, my presentations. So there's really nothing in the packets about this, because it was a big thing to print. So I think John brought some copies. Hey, Matt, we wouldn't consider it rude if you wanted to leave, if you got things to do. Yeah, we're gonna be a
We
little
won't
bit
mind if
longer
you
here,
skip
so-
out.
It'll be a long,
One of 3 late-night meetings.
yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I think we're one short on these.
Thank you, sir.
If you're short one, I can share, or you good?
Good evening, everyone. So I think I've met everybody, but yes, John Johnson with Burnham and Flower Insurance Group. Good to see you all again in person. I had worked with Cindy on the insurance renewal this year, and she had asked me to come out and do maybe a brief overview of the renewal, go over some of the additional program options that we are offering this year, and then answer any questions you might have. So the two documents that were handed out, the first one's going to have the Power Plan logo on the front. I'll spend a majority of my time on that. The second handout is related to cyber and privacy liability coverage through a separate program that we're able to offer our townships that would cover a wide variety of your cyber type exposures. So page numbers are on the upper right hand corner, so I'll kind of reference those as we go through. And as I'm going through the presentation here, again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt. I'll try to speak up as best I can. Sorry, I kind of lost my voice at the Michigan State game the other day, so go green. But yeah. So on page 2, you'll see a few updated figures in that yellow highlighted box there. First of which is the dividend returns to date. So as a township, as a member of the PAR plan, you're eligible for the dividend distributions. To date, you've received just under $2,500 in return premium dollars. 2020, or I guess the 2021 year, was the first year in quite some time that we did not have a dividend. If you recall, in 2020, it was the largest dividend to date. And so things kind of balance out a bit, but we hope that that will continue into next year as well. Also, grant awards to date. You'll see that as a member, you've received the risk reduction grant a few times now, and I see that's an agenda item for later in today's meeting. So I'm sure you're familiar with that program, but for those of you that aren't, we just started or I guess we're about halfway in now, of the current fall grant cycle. It will remain open through this month, and although you have received this grant in the past, that will exclude you from this current window or future windows. So I'm not sure what the specific item is that you're looking to hopefully apply for this time around, but again, we always like to see that our members are trying to take advantage and get some of those, free dollars essentially. There have been a few updates to the grant. I would say the most significant one is that for certain items, there's no longer a requirement for matching funds. So again, I'm not sure what you're planning on applying for this time, but in the past, depending on what you had applied for, there may have been a requirement for matching funds. That's no longer the case, at least for this current cycle. A few other minor changes. They have opened the grant up to certain items that maybe in years past weren't eligible as well. Things like generators. There's been some years where they've approved those, some years where they've declined them. They've opened that back open to a grant opportunity, and a few other items that in the past were excluded. But I think mostly improvements to the grant. No limitations that weren't the case in the past, but again, we would encourage you to get that application in. And if as you go through that application process, if you have any questions that I can assist with or that someone at the PAR plan can assist with, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will skip forward a few pages because the next couple pages there really aren't any updates or changes, so I'll move to page 7, which is the coverage portion of our proposal. And of course, we always start with liability. We had made no changes or amendments to the liability this year, so I'll kind of quickly go through that. And again, if you do have questions, please let me know. But you'll see, obviously, first, comprehensive general liability. So this is township premises and operations coverage. If there's an injury anywhere on township-owned property, any of the parks, playgrounds, this facility or any of your other facilities, also covers property damage claims caused by the township. So you'll see we do have a per occurrence limit listed. We do not have an aggregate, meaning there's no cap or maximum on any given number of liability claims in a policy term. We do have currently we have a $5,000 deductible, which would essentially be the maximum out-of-pocket expense for the township if you did have a liability claim, whether it was a litigation situation or something otherwise. On page 8, again, a list of extensions, no changes or updates to this page as well. Wide variety of extensions and amendments that have been added to the liability coverage over the years. I'm sure I've pointed it out in the past, but especially with COVID and more of our township officials and even other employees working from home, the elected and appointed officials' residence, which I think is that 4th or 5th bullet point you'll see there. There is an extension of coverage to your residence if you are working township-related business from home. So if there's a liability situation that may come about from you working from home, even if it's an individual in the township stopping by, to deliver their mail or their tax bill or something like that, there is an extension of this coverage to your residence for liability purposes. And a wide variety of extensions there as well. Section B, employee benefits liability. Again, no change here, but this would be any benefit program that you have in place, whether it be work comp, health insurance program, or retirement type program. If there is a discrepancy in one of those programs and an employee believes they were promised a benefit from that program, but it was not delivered by that program, potentially there could be some defense and potentially payout on behalf of the township in some of those scenarios. Page 9, you'll see the public officials liability. Again, no change here as well. We do have the same per occurrence limit as the general liability here. No aggregate for this section as well. And same deductible, again, as the general liability section. There are a few sublimits that have been added to the policy over the years, which are the last 2 line items within Section C. One of which is a fairly new addition. I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago we had added this coverage, which is called non-monetary defense coverage. Sometimes it's referred to as injunctive relief. So you'll see we do have a fairly minimal limit here. This is going to be specific coverage for the defense cost or your legal cost for unique type cases that might not fall under either a traditional public officials liability claim or under a traditional private property use restriction claim or a zoning claim. So it would kind of fall in between those two, and then this would be the defense cost that you can take advantage of for those types of claims. And then secondly, we do have the private property use restriction coverage, which is quote-unquote zoning coverage. So you'll see we do have a per occurrence limit for zoning type claims. We do not have an aggregate for zoning coverage or zoning claims. And then lastly, for liability, again, no change here, but you'll see the automobile liability, same limit as well here. We do cover what's called hired and non-owned. So hired would be township-owned vehicles. Non-owned is going to be employees' personal vehicles. Again, for liability purposes, if employees are using their personal vehicles for township driving and there's a collision where it's a liability claim, this policy will coordinate with an employee's personal auto insurance and likely be primary and defend on behalf of the individual as well as the township, again, with the assumption that they're driving for township-related business. On page 11, I think this is going to be the first page that we do have some updates or amendments, at least relative to last year's proposal. I think there was 1 or 2 vehicles added to the vehicle schedule since last renewal, but you will see on page 11 our vehicle schedule. All of the vehicles other than the 1996 Dodge are covered under actual cash value. meaning we do list the purchase price or the value at the time it was added, but the way actual cash value works is it does factor in depreciation. So although we list the purchase value, depending on the vehicle and the age of the vehicle, if one were to be totaled out, let's say, they do factor in that depreciation. On page on page 12, I believe we had some minor updates to the property schedule, and that actually continues on to page 13 as well. And then in addition to any changes that we were instructed to make, the program did do a slight, I'll call it across the board, I think it might have been 1 or 2% increase on valuations of your facilities. The intent there is to try to keep up with some of the inflation that we're seeing for building materials. I'm sure anyone that had any home projects in the last year or two knows that 1 or 2% probably isn't even adequate, but we do have some benefit of covering property under a blanket valuation. So if you reference on page 14, that first number on the page under property coverage, you will see that we have what they call total buildings and contents coverage of about 4.9 million. So that is essentially your total combined property and contents. Vehicles and equipment are actually going to be separate from this figure, but your total building and contents coverage. So for any one claim, whether it's just at this facility or at any of your facilities, or it's essentially township-wide, for any one claim, you are able to pull from that larger figure. So although we do want to make sure that our valuations for each facility are as accurate as we can get them, there's always going to be some wiggle room. And so this blanket valuation really does give us the benefit of the doubt there, so that I don't think we're going to be underinsured for property. On page 15, you'll see a list of extensions, this time of the property coverage. No changes to these extensions as well. And these are all going to be in addition to your actual physical buildings and structures. So many of them could be supplemental or additional expenses that you may have depending on the type of property claim you have. And you'll see the limits or the percentages sometimes on the right-hand column of that page. On page 16, you'll see we have what's called EDP, which is the electronics coverage, electronic data processing coverage. So there's a blanket limit here for tech, whether it's computers, printers, phones, fax machines. We do have some specifically scheduled items which begin on the bottom of page 16 and continue on to pages 17 and 18, which is inland marine coverage. Inland marine, a little bit different than contents, is more mobile type equipment. So things that have the ability to come in and out of your different buildings. In many of these items as well might be permanently outside, but still technically not quote-unquote property. So you'll see the different filling stations, all the way to a lot of the playground equipment, the mowers, and so on and so forth. We did make quite a few updates, I believe, to this schedule, which we were instructed to do. I think overall there was about 200,000 of additional equipment coverage that was added since last renewal as well. And then lastly, we have our third section, the crime and bonding section. Again, no changes here, but this all relates to township funds. So you'll see the different kind of definitions for quote-unquote crime coverage. And then we do have the bonded positions below. Again, no updates or amendments to this. Treasurer and deputy treasurer generally carry the higher bond. They're also bonded through the county, and then the other positions that we have bonded below. So finally, on the back cover of the proposal, you'll see our 2021 and 22 renewal package as presented. We did offer some additional program options like we have in previous years. one of which is the property and liability terrorism option, the cyber and privacy liability policy, which is that second handout that I passed out, and then some increases or potential increases for coverage within the policy, one of which would be the liability. That would be essentially an increase across the board for your liability sections. The next would be one of those sublimits that I had mentioned within the public officials liability section, referred to as the non-monetary defense coverage. And then lastly, potentially increasing the zoning limit, again, from your current limit to the next available offering there. So I know I went through that a little bit quicker than I have in previous years because there weren't many significant changes, but I wanted to open the floor to any questions you might have on the proposal, on the pricing, or on the second handout, which would be that cyber and privacy liability coverage.
I got one question, since you've been through all that. Bond coverage. Everybody's got a decent bond coverage down there. Why is the supervisor so low?
I don't mess up.
Generally, so we take those limits from the MTA, who comes up with those recommendations for the limits. So those are what we would kind of consider our standard bonding
You can get more
limits.
trouble than anybody.
And generally, that is the
Handle more.
case
Yeah,
because
comes out
supervisor
of money.
deals with funds the least amount out of all of
Right.
those positions.
All right, thank
We
you.
do have a few townships that's not the case, and so we can adjust those if need be. But that's
Really
just
high
kind of
over
more
Chesterfield.
more a rule of thumb, yeah.
I have a question on, like, where does the new generator that we just had installed fall into here?
So generators would be covered under inland marine because they are outside your facility.
Right,
I
I don't see it here.
I know we had made quite a few adjustments to that schedule this year, so I would have to go through the list and see where we have that specifically listed.
I didn't see it, so.
Okay.
There were other generators, but not,
Right, no, I don't know.
so I don't know if that
Honestly,
needs
this
to be
is-
added.
Yeah, this is,
It does.
How recent was that purchase?
just in the last 2 months.
Okay. I'll review with Jean, who's my customer service rep, and see if and when she specifically added that.
Yeah.
If it wasn't added, we can cover that one of two ways. We can cover that under miscellaneous property and equipment, which we do currently have about $230,000 of miscellaneous property and equipment. Generally, though, if there's an item valued over, I believe the limit is $15,000, then they do request that that's specifically scheduled. So do you know the value of the
It's over
generator?
that.
It's over 15
Okay.
for sure.
Uh,
Probably
so-
closer to 40.
Okay, so we'll definitely want to specifically have that scheduled, and I can review that and make sure we have that on our
Oh, I didn't
schedule.
think about the generator.
Yeah, there's, okay, thanks on that.
All right.
I do have one quick question. Our premium this year is 17,106.
Yes.
Last year, our premium was 14,700. Year before that, it was 15,690.
Yep.
It's up quite a bit. Does that take into consideration the dividend that we're getting, or no?
It does not, no. So dividend isn't factored into your year-end premium. So, hypothetically, if next year, if they do offer a dividend again, and let's say it's, closer to what the 2020 dividend one was, which was, I think, a high percentage of your overall dividend to date, it has no impact on your final premium. So the way the dividend is actually put together is the program as a whole, the PAR plan program with about 1,300 members, has to set aside a certain percentage of their overall premium dollars for potential claims. And if claims are lower than projected, that's when they're able to issue that dividend. Now, it works on a 3-year kind of rolling average or lag because, property claims generally we know right when they occur. Liability situations, though, that's not always the case. And so what we had for, we're in 2020 now, what we had in 2018 and into 2019 is we did have in the program a few liability situations that came up 1 or 2 years later that impacted that, and that was the reason there wasn't a dividend this year. I know we just had our agents meeting last month, and they are projecting a dividend for next year. But again, we never really know until it's time to send those funds out, because there still could be a lawsuit, that is,
Sure.
that impacts that premium. So
Okay.
I did look at the rating from last year and this year to figure out where that increase came from. And essentially, with the rating, we really didn't have, for your policy, much of a rate increase. We just had increased coverage. So we did have the two vehicles that were not on last year's renewal. They were added midterm, but we had two vehicles that were added.
Okay.
Then we had the increase in property coverage, and I think the most significant, other than the vehicles, was the increase in equipment as well. So like I had mentioned, that inland marine section, which is the equipment, was increased about $220,000 of equipment. Then the two vehicles, and for the two vehicles as well, we have to account for the auto liability. So
Okay.
but between the two vehicles, the increased property and the increased equipment, that's where a big chunk of our actual premium increase came from. The
Okay.
rate itself actually stayed almost identical, so.
Thank you.
Have we been taking, you probably know, I wasn't here last time, have we been taking the cyber coverage for here, for the township? I know, but long time ago, we did not take it. I don't know. if you
According to
did.
Cindy, we haven't picked up any extras at all.
Okay,
over the
well, I
last
know
few
before
years.
we didn't, but I don't know if you had done it recently.
Yeah,
Okay.
as a township, we've offered the cyber, I think, for about 3 years now, and it hasn't been added to
Okay.
the package yet. A few of the neighboring townships and water authorities that we
Okay.
work with, they
Yeah,
have
we picked it up
decided
in the
to
water
make that
authority
addition.
Because of the fact that the both plants are pretty much computer controlled, and if somebody got into them, they could really mess something up, so. I didn't think we did it here for the township
The
itself.
township has not, that's
Okay.
correct. Mhm.
I don't think we should. I don't think
Quite a lot,
we get in that much
2,200.
trouble with
Yeah.
liability.
So that's a high premium.
I should
I mean,
just-
we have some of that, well, I guess not liability. I mean, we have some of the cyber protection through our IT,
Right.
so.
One thing I'll mention about the cyber as well is I know that's a fairly high dollar amount relative to your overall package. What I had quoted is a fairly, I'll call it kind of standard or cookie cutter package that we offer a number of our members, which is a $250,000 coverage limit with a $2,500 deductible. So there are ways we can impact that premium amount, whether it's increasing deductible or decreasing coverage. We have a $100,000 option that we are able to offer, and then with deductible, we can increase that to $5,000 or $10,000, which would bring that premium amount down as well. So if that's something you're truly considering but would like to see other pricing options, we can definitely adjust that. But I think what was quoted was more our standard package. So,
So, yeah, I think for tonight, obviously, it's new business one, but I guess if anybody's interested in seeing more information on any of the other options, I guess we can request that, but we do need to vote on this tonight, just because this is, I think our expiration date was yesterday.
Today, November 1st, right?
This morning,
Yeah.
last night, technically,
Oh,
yeah. We don't automatically cancel by any means, but the renewal technically is today, yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time. Good to see you all.
We got a couple more minutes until we get to your vote here, so. All right, that's it for presentations, guest speakers. So approval of the consent agenda.
All right. Building permit report. I'll make a motion to accept consent agenda.
Support. And we have a motion of support to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, consent agenda carries. Disbursements, we have payroll in the amount of $32,315.72. Accounts payable of $130,872.43. EFTs for $54,308.84. E-checks for $302.30. tax account of $12,292.67, and invoices of $28,261.12, for a grand total of $258,353.08.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Support.
We have a motion and support to pay the bills. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Roush?
Yes. All right, we will pay the bills. I have to pause for a second. Did you want to make a public comment?
No, it's on the agenda, the power plan.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just, we went through our guest speakers and I just didn't offer that up, so I'm sorry. All right, so moving into old business, the second reading of the zoning ordinance. All right. All right, so read this. Ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 40, Accessory Buildings and Structures, Sections 480, 61F1 and H2, 4D-53K, 4D-67E and F. Charter Township of East China ordains, Section 1, the purpose of the ordinance is to amend the Code of Ordinances to expand the allowable sizes and setbacks for accessory buildings and structures. Section 2 amendments. Section 480-61-F subsection 1 is hereby deleted and replaced with 480-61 accessory buildings and structures, detached accessory buildings including detached private garages. Number 1, the floor area of each detached accessory building shall not exceed the following. Zoning lot size up to 21,780 square feet. Accessory building allowable is 60% of the total lot size or 1,200 square feet, whichever is less. More than 1/2 acre and up to 2 acres, the accessory building is allowed 1,600 square feet. More than 2 acres up to 5 acres, the accessory building is allowed of 2,000 square feet. More than 5 acres up to 10 acres, the accessory building is allowed to be 2,500 square feet. And more than 10 acres, the accessory building would be able to be 4,500 square feet. Section 480-61H2 is hereby deleted and replaced with 480-61 accessory buildings and structures, subsection H, location on lot, subsection 2. No detached accessory building may be located closer than 3 feet to any side or rear lot line except as otherwise provided for herein. Setbacks to property lines shall be increased 1 additional foot for each 1 foot an accessory building parallel to a lot line exceeds 40 feet in length and or taller than the 15-foot allowable mean height adjacent to the said property line. Section 480-53-K is hereby deleted and replaced with 480-53 off-street parking for retail stores. Section 480-53 off-street parking requirement. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Section K, the minimum number of off-street parking spaces by type of use shall be determined in accordance with the following schedule. Type of use, retail stores except as otherwise specified herein. The minimum number of off-street parking spaces shall be 1 for each 250 square feet of usable floor area. Section 480-67-E is hereby deleted. 480-67, exterior lighting. Section E, parking lot lighting shall not exceed an intensity of 5-foot candles, nor shall it be less than 1.5-foot candles. Section 480-67-F becomes E and G becomes F. Section 3, severability. The provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable. If any clause, sentence, paragraph, rule, regulation, section, or subsection is declared void or inoperable for any reason by any court, it shall not affect any other part of portion thereof, other than the part declared void or inoperable. Section 4, repeal. All ordinances in conflict herewithin are hereby repealed. Section 5, effective date. This ordinance shall become effective upon publication after adoption. Section 6, inspection of ordinance. A copy of this ordinance may be inspected or purchased at the Township Hall, 5111 River Road, East Trenton, Michigan, 48054, during regular posted office hours.
Okay, that's the first reading.
Second.
First, we had to add the 2 additional sections that were not done last meeting. I discovered it after the meeting, so
Okay.
it's the whole entire thing, first reading
So we
tonight.
vote on this?
Nope, it's just the first
Just the
reading.
first
Next
reading.
reading will be second reading and adoption.
All right.
All right.
You're very, very good at this. Time you read it 3 or 4 more times.
I don't know. It seems like this one's going
Well,
on
the
forever.
first time it
I
got
know.
here before it was that planning.
Could I
so-
ask Herb a question? Then I just noticed as reading through this, I remember the argument with respect to Dollar General, and the comment was that the lighting that was required by our ordinance was almost impossible physically to meet it. Isn't this the same thing?
No, because we deleted that section.
So, 'cause
Just
it's not,
modified it.
well, it says, not less than 1.5, and I thought that was one of the problems.
No,
trying
that
to
was the
get them to
section we
say-
deleted.
So this corrects that problem.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving into new business 1, the consideration for the park plan liability coverage proposal. So, again, there's not paperwork on this, it's basically the backside of the pamphlet handed out for the participating plan package of $17,106.
But that's going to change because we need to add the generator on now.
Correct, by an amount that we don't know.
Right.
So we
I don't
need
know
to
what we do
approve this
about that.
tonight as stands, because it expired today.
Yeah, I know,
This
but
is our whole year coverage.
Right.
We'll just have to add it on and charge us for the difference. We can approve that bill when it comes in separately. We have to approve this tonight.
You'll then have to
Yeah.
send that in again.
We don't have a choice.
And We're not
I'll make a motion
We're not
to-
going to, this is, I'm sorry, you just said it, the $17,000 number, right?
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
17,106,
Okay.
excluding the extra program.
Again, if
coverage
anybody
option.
wants to see the options in more detail, I guess we can request that from John.
I don't.
But for tonight, did you make that motion?
I did.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll support that. It's a $17,106 level.
So we have a motion and a support to accept the proposal in this packet for the Michigan Township participating plan package of $17,106. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Roush?
Yes. All right, motion carries.
If I may, on the generator, it's possible that if and when we confirm that that is either added or just maybe left out on the proposal, that there's no premium for that. So I can check first thing tomorrow to see if it was just added and left off the proposal, or if not, it is possible that we can pull some of that coverage from that miscellaneous subsection to
Okay.
essentially
Offset.
make the same change
Okay.
without increasing our overall coverage, which would then be no premium as well.
That'd be
So
nice.
There's multiple
Yeah.
scenarios
Awesome.
where you're not billed for that, so I can
Great.
work
Right.
with Jean to make sure that's the case.
And you're on
So-
camera saying that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Handle it.
Essentially, we would decrease miscellaneous and add the separate items, so
Right.
it's scheduled, but either
Okay.
way, your overall coverage is gonna be adequate, so.
Good.
That would be
Thank you.
great.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks.
All right, Blaine, the moment you've been waiting for an hour. New business 2, driveway approach repair on Clark Drive.
Earlier this year, we had to repair a water leak underneath the asphalt driveway approach, and this is a quote to replace that asphalt and get it sealed up before winter comes.
Okay. Do we have other quotes besides just this one, or no?
This was the one that I could get. Everyone else was booked up until the plants closed, and
I gotcha.
didn't want to consider anything else.
Okay. She reached out to other ones, they just weren't,
Yes.
it's not a bad price.
Do we know if China Township's project was approved or no?
I do not know that yet.
Okay.
I am anticipating that it will be approved. If not, we're going to be dumping bags of asphalt
Yeah.
patch in there to get us through the winter.
Sure.
Well, how should we do this then? Just contingent on China's being approved, or?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the asphalt paving work at 4435 Clark in the amount of $2,750, contingent on China Township's approving some pavement on 32-mile bike path repair.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support to approve the driveway approach repair at 4435 Clark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Roush?
Yes. All right, motion approved. Moving into new business 3, the sanitary sewer main pipe patch and T-liners.
I have 3 quotes for some fiberglass patches to be installed in the sanitary sewers. We have 4 locations that we found in this year's cleaning and cammering project, and the other 4 locations were found during reviews of past repairs and complaint calls that we've looked into. Most of all of these locations, I would prefer to do the trenchless repairs, do it all robotically versus digging a hole. We have the price of the cost of the parts, the restoration and the labor. It's better just to go this route and get it all done from inside the pipe. And looking at the low bid, if we break it down, it would be $8,952 for service and $28,000 for towards capital improvement. The life expectancy on the liners is 50 years.
That's awesome.
Do we have the money someplace for this?
Not really, but we did discuss, that's why we asked Blaine to break it down into costs so that we could try to rob it from a couple different budgets, what's left of a couple different smaller budgets.
Okay.
You're comfortable with Michigan pipe inspection?
Yes. Now, I did review the list again, see if there's something we could cut off and wait, but the repairs that I'm recommending are in need, to just shore things up, seal out the leaks and the infiltration.
I'll make a motion, we approve this as presented by Blaine for Michigan pipe inspection, the amount of $36,952.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and a support to approve the 2021 sanitary sewer main point repairs and award the work to Michigan Pipe Inspection of $36,952. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Roush?
Yes. All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blaine.
Thanks, Blaine. Good night.
New business 4, so as I think everybody knows, we had a vacancy in the sewer department. We had first interviews and second interviews with, we invited 3 applicants back for second interviews. After all was said and done, Charles would like to offer the employment, Charles, Cindy, and myself, to Jeremy Johnson. There is a kind of a note at the bottom here, in the event that Mr. Johnson does not accept, that we would seek to make an offer to the next applicant, just without having to wait until the next meeting.
Well, from my point of view, I'll go along with Chuck's recommendation and the rest of the.
Yeah.
Do you want to make that a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we, how would we do this? What do we
Approve his recommendation.
We are
Given the,
a recommendation that we make an offer of employment to Mr. Johnson in
Jeremy
accordance
Johnson.
with the recommendation of the Mr. What do you
Wastewater.
call the recommendation of the committee that picked them? Yeah, I guess, of the committee.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was trying to read something in there.
Can we add in, could you add to your motion possibly the event that he doesn't take the offer?
Wouldn't we have to bring back another guy? 'Cause
He has a
we've got a
backup.
name here, we
He has
don't
a-
have a guy on the second, eh?
Well, he has his backup that we offered the second interview. He's got that guy in mind, just in case that Mr. Johnson doesn't take.
You've already had the second interview with the second
Oh,
guy?
yeah, With three gentlemen, yeah.
Okay.
And they
Well, if
bought
he-
the plant too,
Yes,
right?
the second
Yeah.
interview was at the plant, so they were
All
going to
right.
see our operations.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, put that in there in appropriate wording.
Okay,
God.
I'll support that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a support to offer Jeremy Johnson the position. And if he does not accept, we would offer it to the next in-line participant.
Qualified candidate. Okay.
Next qualified candidate, thank you.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. All right. All right, moving into new business 5, resolution for Parks Power Plan Risk Reduction Grant.
What, we just accept it, or what? Submit the proposal?
I'm here in case anybody has any questions about it or what it's about, or I can explain it a little bit.
Have we been granted the grant?
No,
We have not.
we
We
have
just
to have the
applied.
resolution to send in with the application.
Oh, here's the
Oh,
resolution.
okay.
I see, here it's
I
in there.
see.
A little farther.
The
Okay.
application goes in, the resolution goes in, any pictures, any, description of the project. And do you want me to go to something?
Sure, please, so we can hear you on camera.
Yeah, there's a resolution if you keep turning.
The park has purchased new playground equipment, some for Manor Park and some for the main park. And what we're gonna ask for is $5,000, which is the top, cap for that grant. We've never asked for that before. And this is like the 5th time, like John was saying, this is the 5th time that we've applied for that grant. We've gotten it 4 different times. The cost, the grant will be for mulch, and the cost of the mulch, because it's all new equipment at Manor Park, it's $6,260. So the $5,000 would, cut that down quite a bit. And then, the equipment in the main park, there's also, a cost for the mulch, but this grant is only for the $5,000, so we'll do it for Manor and then go forward with the rest of it. And that's to install it also. In the past, we've tried to get volunteer help, and we've had community service, and they're not doing that anymore because of COVID, and it's a lot of mulch.
Yeah.
160 cubic yards, 140 is what we usually put in the playscape, and we don't always cover everything with that. But this is because it's all dug out new and
Sure.
under the new equipment. But the resolution has to come from the Township Board saying that you approve of us applying for the grant,
Okay.
because you pay the premium on the policy. But
I'll
we
make the
also own the
motion.
parks.
I'll make the motion that we approve this. We need to read it.
Yeah, why don't you
Yeah, the
offer the rest? You
resolution.
can offer the resolution.
Resolution 18, 2021, authorizing Michigan Township participating power plan risk reduction grant program. Application, East China Charter Township, County of St. Clair. Following resolution is offered by myself, whereas the East China Township Park Commission is pursuing grant funding to finance placing 160 yards of mulch under new playground equipment being installed at Manor Park in East China Township. Now therefore be it resolved that the East China Township Board approves of the Park Commission applying for the Michigan Township Participating Plan Risk Reduction Grant. All resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and the same hereby are rescinded.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and a support to approve resolution for the Par grant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Natz?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Clerk Matei, yes. Supervisor Roush?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that passes. NB5 passes.
Thank you.
All right, new business 6, easy one. We had an opening in Planning Commission.
Thanks,
We had
Cindy.
yes, thank you. We had a resident come forward interested in filling the spot. George Hoppy, so we're looking to appoint him to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term to expire on November 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Support.
Thanks, Cindy.
We have a motion of support to approve, to appoint George Hoppy to the Planning Commission. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Congratulations to George. Last but not least, approve the Holiday Township Hall office closures, requesting December 23rd and 24th off for Christmas, December 30th and 31st for New Year's, since both days fall on Saturdays.
Question.
Yes,
Do businesses normally have 2 days off before
I do.
New Year's?
We do.
No.
Well, when
Some
it
do, some
falls
don't,
on When
yeah.
it falls on a weekend, it's in the contract, you have to give them the day before or after.
Well,
For our employees.
obviously, but I mean, this is asking for 2.
I think New Year's,
They're asking for 2.
Well, that's because they would normally get the day and the day
Correct.
before, 2
Correct.
days.
So
But
they
now
should
since
only
it's
have
on a
Friday
weekend,
off.
now it's on
No,
a
they
weekend,
always
they
get
don't
2
get that
days.
day because it's a
Always.
normal
Really?
day off. So now they're gonna give
I've
them
never
2
heard of
days.
that.
we'd have to see what the contract says for their, I mean,
Always.
Christmas Eve is it's paid holiday for a
That's,
lot.
yeah.
That's Friday, yeah.
Right, so you'd be just backing it up to Thursday, Friday instead of,
I'm talking about New Year's.
right.
Yep,
Well,
always
they
2
both
days.
fall the same.
That's
I know
because
they
get
do,
a
but
paid-
Yeah.
they get
usually
their
you
paid
only get
holiday
the
off, and right now the paid
one day.
holiday's on a Saturday, and they get that off
Always
anyway, so you
been
give
that
another
way.
day.
I'm still
That
here
was
to
you,
give
yes.
you,
Oh,
a question about that.
yeah, is that in the contract that,
Yep.
that,
Yeah, it's required, they get,
Day off.
holidays are Christmas Eve day, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve day, and New Year's Day.
Okay.
This motion is only requesting that the township hall be closed. They're getting these days off regardless. This is part of their contract. You just are authorizing to close township hall for business.
Oh,
Gotcha. Okay.
okay.
so this is just a
Thank you.
joke, close the township hall.
So
Nobody's
moved.
here, I mean.
All right, so we have a motion
Yep.
by
Support.
Sandy, and the support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, motion carries. That brings us to announcements. The only announcements that I have is I will not be here for the public hearing on the 15th. It'll be the first meeting that I miss, and be my first year anniversary meeting, actually, but we'll need somebody to chair that meeting. You guys can figure it out, or somebody can jump on it now, whatever, however you want to handle it.
Okay.
I am also not
I-
gonna be here.
Yeah, I'd recommend that we use one of the other, who's ever next in line, it's just either the clerk. or-
Wasn't there something like clerk cannot, because you have the minutes?
I don't know.
We'll have to research that a
Yeah,
little bit.
I can
What,
check.
You're not gonna be here, is it?
No, I'm gonna be out of town till Wednesday.
I would do it, but I don't think it would
From
be
Friday
appropriate
to
for a trustee to do it as long as one of the other 3 are present, and if the other
We'll
one.
double
And
check.
that sort of leaves it
With MTA.
down to one, right?
We've always had,
Yeah.
in the past, it's always been the treasurer. In the past, it's always been the treasurer.
Yeah, I know it's
The
always been the
supervisor
treasurer.
was
That's because he was here when they built the building.
Exactly. That's why.
Well, we can iron that out before the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I had mentioned it last time when we were scheduling those meetings. But
Okay. Anything else?
Outside of that, member comments, we'll go down the line. Trustee Blackstock,
Nothing, thank you.
trustee Babel,
I'm good.
clerk Matai,
No, thank you.
treasurer Hart.
I only had one thing that we had mentioned before about, that came up about the recording of different meetings now. If we need to add that to the next agenda or somewhere down the line.
Oh, to record like the planning commission?
Yeah, planning commission, and I think there was Parks and Rec, we said, and
Okay.
I don't know that we need to bring it up at the meeting or just have Cindy negotiate it with them.
I mean, because we're paying for it anyway, so.
Right.
Do we need to record them?
It helps
We're
with,
paying for
We
it.
need the secretarial duties recorded
Yeah,
for planning and
to get proper minutes and things like that. And
all
also
the
have it
information.
recorded.
Okay. Just remember.
Yeah, that's it.
Trustee Knox?
It's fine. No, I have no comment.
Trustee Richmond?
Got nothing, thank you.
All right, I have nothing myself either. So, motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:54.
So
Would be in
moved.
order.
Support.
We have a motion and support to close the meeting at 8:54. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned.